The diamond hit the bar like a gunshot. Araquin froze her bourbon halfway to her lips as a stranger's hand closed over hers and slid a ring onto her finger. His voice was low, urgent, almost gentle. Smile, sweetheart. Smile like you love me. 3 men just walk through that door, and if you don't pretend to be my fiancé, in the next 10 seconds, both of us are going to die in this bar. Before we begin, please subscribe to the channel and stay with me until the end. And tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from tonight? I'd love to see how far this story travels. Araquin didn't believe in signs. She believed in stitches, antibiotics, in the soft, trembling weight of a baby tiger waking up under fluorescent lights. She believed in things you could measure, things you could save. But when that diamond hit the polished walnut of the bar, when that stranger's hand closed over hers with the kind of pressure that wasn't quite force but wasn't quite kindness either, she felt something that didn't belong in the orderly world she'd built for herself. She felt a man's life depending on her, and maybe her own. "Don't look at the door," he murmured. His lips barely moved. "Look at me. Smile like I just asked you the best question of your life." Ayara's mouth was dry. Her tongue felt like wool. She turned her head slowly the way a deer turns when it knows something is hunting it, and she looked at him. He was younger than she'd expected. Maybe 40, dark hair neatly cut, a jaw she would have called handsome under any other circumstance. He was wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her rent for the year, and his eyes, God, his eyes were the color of cold lake water in November. He was smiling at her. It was the most terrifying smile she had ever seen in her life, because it was perfect. It was warm. It was the smile of a man who just slid a ring onto the finger of the woman he adored, and none of it was real. "Breathe," he whispered, still smiling. "Ara, breathe." "How do you know my name?" "Later. Smile." She tried. Her face felt like clay. She watched him watching her, and she watched her own hand, the hand that had spent 8 hours that morning holding the lungs of a tiger cub steady while she sutured a punctured diaphragm, and that hand was shaking now, shaking under his. The ring on her finger was heavy, heavier than something that small had any right to be. "Good girl," he said softly. "That's good. Now laugh." "What?" "Laugh, Ara. Lean into me a little, like I just whispered something filthy." "I don't know how to." "Yes, you do." His thumb stroked the back of her hand. It was the gentlest thing anyone had done to her in 3 years. "Yes, you do. Just laugh, please." She laughed. It came out of her like a coughed-up bone, awkward, broken, half a sob. But she laughed, and she leaned into the curve of his shoulder the way a woman might lean into her future, and somewhere on the other end of the bar, she felt 3 pairs of eyes shift away from her. She felt them the way a rabbit feels a hawk move on. "Good," he breathed. "Stay there, don't move. Pick up your drink with your left hand. Make sure they see the ring." "Who are they?" "Drink first." Ira reached for her bourbon with a hand she did not recognize. Her left hand. The diamond caught the warm amber light of the bar and threw it across the wood like a second flame. It was enormous. It was vulgar. It was the kind of ring a woman wore in photographs, not in real life. She brought the glass to her lips. She drank. The bourbon hit the back of her throat like a memory. She felt her shoulders loosen just a fraction. She felt his arms slide around the small of her back very lightly, very publicly, and she did not flinch. "There she is," he murmured low enough that only she could hear. "There's my girl. I'm not your girl. Tonight you are. Tonight you are the love of my life, Araquin, and you are going to save it." His name was Adrian Volkov. She wouldn't learn that for another 43 seconds. What she knew in that moment was only what a body knows, that something terrible was in the room with her, that the bourbon she'd ordered to forget her day was now the prop in a play she hadn't auditioned for, that the borrowed black dress she was wearing too tight in the shoulders, too loose at the waist, a dress her sister-in-law, Marin, had pressed into her hands 2 hours earlier with the words, "You look like you're going to a funeral, sweetheart. Please, just for one night. Look like you belong here," that this dress had somehow brought her to this bar, this stool, this stranger. She had only come downstairs for 10 minutes. 10 minutes. That was the deal she'd made with herself. 10 minutes alone with a drink, 10 minutes of not smiling at people she didn't know, 10 minutes of not pretending she was fine, and then she'd go back upstairs to the Christmas party. She'd find Marin, she'd eat a canapé, she'd nod at someone's husband. She'd survive the evening the way she survived everything quietly, competently alone. That had been the plan. The plan had lasted 4 minutes. Look at me again, Adrian said. Don't look at the door. They're still there. I know they're still there. Look at me. She looked. His face was very close now, close enough that she could see the small white scar through his left eyebrow, close enough that she could smell him cedar, something darker underneath the faint medicinal sting of expensive cologne, close enough that anyone watching from across the bar would see a man and a woman in love. What's your name? She whispered. Adrian. Adrian what? Later. You said later about my name and you knew my name. You said later twice. A small flicker crossed his face, almost a smile, a real one this time. Volkov, he said. Adrian Volkov. And in about 90 seconds, the man with the gray suit is going to walk over here and ask me a question, and you are going to answer it for me. Can you do that? What question? Whatever question he asks, sweetheart, the answer is yes. The answer is yes, and I love him. The answer is yes, and we just got engaged tonight. Are you listening to me? Yes. Say it back. Yes, and I love him. Yes, and we just got engaged tonight. Good girl. She felt something catch in her chest at those two words. She didn't know what it was, and she didn't have time to look at it. Why me, she said. He didn't answer right away. He picked up her drink with the ease of a man who'd been drinking from her glass for years. And he took a sip, and he set it back down between them, and only then did he say very softly, because you were alone, because you weren't smiling, because nobody in this room is watching you, Ara, and that means nobody knows you. That means you're the only person in this bar who could plausibly be a stranger to me. Everybody else has a story about who they belong to. You don't. She stared at him. That's the worst answer I've ever heard. It's the only honest one I've got. You don't know me. No. You don't know if I'll do it. No. I could stand up right now and walk out of this bar, and you would die. Yes, she blinked. He was looking at her steadily. No fear in his face, no pleading, just a flat, exhausted honesty, like a man who'd already counted the bullets in the gun pointed at him and was simply telling her the math. I would die, he said again. And probably you would too, because they've already seen you sitting next to me, and they don't know who you are yet, and the only thing keeping you alive in the next 40 seconds is the question that you matter to me. So please. His voice cracked just barely on the word please. It was the crack that did it. Ara Quinn had spent her whole adult life listening to creatures who couldn't speak. She'd learned to hear pain in the angle of a wing, fear in the curl of a tail, surrender in the way a cat went still under her hands. She heard it now in the way a 30-something man in a $4,000 suit said the word please. It was the sound of something dying. She turned her hand over under his. She laced her fingers through his fingers. She squeezed. Okay, she said. He closed his eyes for half a second. Okay, she said again, louder this time, leaning her forehead toward his shoulder, the way a woman in love might. Okay, Adrian, okay. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. No, he said. I won't. The man in the gray suit was named Yuri Rashevsky. She didn't know that yet either. What she knew was that he walked the way a tank rolls slowly with full confidence that nothing was going to get out of his way. He was big, not Jim big, hard big, the kind of big that came from a life she didn't want to and unreadable, and his eyes when they landed on her were the eyes of a butcher considering a cut of meat. She felt Adrian's hand tighten around hers. Smile, he breathed. She smiled. Volkov, the big man said. His voice was soft. That was the worst part, soft and friendly, like he was greeting an old friend at a wedding. Yuri, Adrian said warmly. He didn't stand. He didn't release Ara's hand. He just turned on his stool with the easy grace of a man who'd been interrupted during something pleasant. It's been a while. You look well. I look tired. You always look tired. This is true. The big man's eyes moved to Ara. They moved slowly. They started at her face, traveled down to the ring on her finger, lingered there, traveled back up to her face. He smiled at her. The smile did not reach his eyes. And who is this lovely woman? He said. Ara's tongue was wood. Yes, and I love him. Yes, and we just got engaged tonight. Ara, she heard herself say. Ara Quinn. Ara. The big man tasted the name. Russian, my grandmother. Ah, The smile warmed by half a degree. And how does a woman with a Russian grandmother end up at a bar in Chicago drinking bourbon next to a man like Adrian Volkov? He proposed, she said. The words were out of her mouth before she'd decided to say them. The bar went very quiet around her, or at least it felt that way the world goes quiet when you're about to be hit by a car. Adrian's hand tightened on hers, not in warning, in something else, something that felt almost like gratitude. He proposed, Yuri said. Tonight. Her voice was steadier now. She was finding the rhythm of the lie the way she sometimes found the rhythm of a difficult suture, and it was almost calming. An hour ago, upstairs, he took me out onto the terrace and he got down on one knee like an absolute idiot, and the wind was freezing, and I said yes anyway. She looked at Adrian. She made her eyes go soft. It was the easiest performance of her life because she was so terrified she could barely focus. And terror on a woman's face can look very much like love. I said yes anyway, she repeated softer. Adrian lifted her hand. He kissed her knuckles. He kissed the diamond. Best yes I've ever heard, he said. Yuri Reshevsky was watching them. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then the big man laughed. It was a real laugh, surprised, almost delighted, and Ara felt the muscles in her back unlock one vertebra at a time. Well, Yuri said. Well. Adrian Volkov engaged. I did not see this coming. Nobody did. Your father, he'll find out tomorrow. He will be furious. He will be furious, Adrian agreed pleasantly. And the business? There was a pause, the smallest pause. Ara felt it in Adrian's grip. The business will continue, he said, as it always has, as we discussed. As we discussed, Yuri repeated. He was watching Ara again. And does your beautiful Ara know about the business? Ara opened her mouth. The answer is yes. The answer is yes, and I love him. I know enough, she said. Yuri tilted his head. Enough for what? Enough to say yes. It was the right answer. She didn't know how she knew it was the right answer. She just felt it the way she'd felt the tiger's heart slow under her hands that morning, the way she always knew in her bones when a thing was going to live. Yuri Reshevsky stared at her for one more beat, and then he laughed again louder this time and clapped Adrian on the shoulder with a hand that could have crushed a man's collarbone and said, Enough to say yes. Enough to say yes, Volkov, you have found yourself a wolf. I have, Adrian said quietly. I think I have. Congratulations to you both, truly. Yuri reached into his suit jacket, and Ara's whole body went still, but his hand came out with a business card, not a gun, and he laid it on the bar between them. When you set the date, you let me know. I will send a gift, something appropriate. Thank you, Yuri. And Adrian, yes. We will speak again soon about the matter we did not finish discussing. Of course. Soon, Adrian. Soon. Yuri turned. He walked back across the bar to his two silent companions. He said something to them in a language Ara didn't recognize. The three of them looked at her one more time, long, considering looks, and then they turned and walked out of the bar. The door closed behind them. Ara exhaled. Her whole body started shaking at once, her hands, her shoulders, her teeth. It was as if some pressure she hadn't known she was holding had been suddenly released, and now her body was trying to deal with all of it at once. Don't, Adrian said immediately. Not here, not yet. I can't. Yes, you can. Drink. Drink your bourbon. Smile at me. Adrian. Ara. His hand was still on hers. His thumb was still moving in that small, gentle circle. The bartender is watching. The two men by the window are watching. The woman in the red dress at the end of the bar has looked at you 4 times in the last 2 minutes. We are not done. Drink your bourbon. Smile. She drank. She smiled. It felt like screaming. Good girl, he murmured. Stop calling me that. Sorry. Who was that man? Later. You keep saying later. I know. What is the matter that you didn't finish discussing? A long pause. Later, Ara. She set the glass down. The diamond on her finger flashed once in the warm light. It looked for one strange, dizzy second like it was alive. I'm going to need more than later, she said quietly. I know. I'm going to need a name, a reason, a way out. I know. And I'm going to need to stop shaking before I stand up, because if I stand up right now, I am going to fall over, and a fiancé doesn't fall over. A flicker of something crossed his face. Something soft. Something almost sad. Take your time, he said. She took her time. She drank the rest of her bourbon slowly. She let him keep her hand. She let him lean toward her and brush a piece of hair behind her ear like a man would. She let the bartender refill her glass without asking. She let the woman in the red dress finish looking at her and lose interest. She let the world keep moving. And the whole time in the back of her mind, she was thinking the same sentence over and over. I have a tiger cub recovering in a kennel in Lamont. I have a Christmas party going on 3 floors above my head. I have a sister-in-law who is going to come looking for me in 20 minutes. I have a life. I have a real entire life, and a stranger has just put a ring on my finger and saved his own life with my mouth, and I do not know his last name, and I do not know what business he is in, and I just lied to a man who looked like he kills people for breakfast. And the worst part, the absolute worst part, the worst part is that when he called me good girl, something inside my chest unlocked, something I had not felt in 3 years. She turned to look at Adrian Volkov. He was watching her. He had the strangest expression on his face. It was not the expression of a man who had just used a stranger to save his life. It was not relief or triumph or calculation. It was something much quieter than that. It was the expression of a man looking at a door he hadn't expected to find. Ara, he said softly. Yes. I owe you a great deal. Yes, you do. I am going to pay it. Every cent. How? He didn't answer right away. He picked up her hand again. He looked at the ring. He looked at her finger under the ring, the small callus on her knuckle from years of holding scalpels. Whatever it costs, he said. And somewhere in the bar, a Christmas carol started playing softly through the speakers, the way it had been playing the whole time, the way it had been playing for an hour, except she only heard it now. Silver bells, silver bells. It was almost Christmas. And Ara Quinn, 34 years old, wildlife rehabber, recently widowed, currently engaged, sat at a bar in downtown Chicago in a dress that didn't fit her with a diamond on her finger that wasn't hers, holding the hand of a man she had known for 11 minutes, and she did the only thing she could think of to do. She smiled at him. A real smile this time. Small and shaky and real. Adrian, she said. Yes. I think you're going to ruin my life. He looked at her. The corner of his mouth lifted. It was the first true thing she'd seen him do. Yes, he said quietly. I think I am. He didn't let go of her hand. That was the first thing Ara noticed. Even after Yuri Reshevsky and his 2 silent shadows had walked out of the bar, even after the door had closed and the danger had passed, Adrian Volkov's fingers stayed laced through hers like he'd forgotten how to release them. Or maybe like he was afraid to. You can let go now. I know. Then let go. In a minute, she turned her head and looked at him. He was still smiling, that soft public smile, the smile of a man who'd just gotten engaged to the woman of his dreams. But his eyes were somewhere else entirely. His eyes were tracking the door, the windows, the bartender, the woman in the red dress, the 2 men by the window who had finally lost interest and gone back to their drinks. Adrian, in a minute, Ara. My fingers are going numb. He looked down. He saw what he was doing. His grip loosened immediately, almost apologetically, but he didn't pull away. He just slid his palm against hers gentler now, like a man holding something he just realized was breakable. Sorry, he murmured. What are we doing? We're sitting at a bar. We're a couple in love. We just got engaged. We're going to finish our drinks like normal people, and then we're going to walk out of here together, and you're going to let me put you in a car. I am not getting in a car with you. Yes, you are. No, I am not. Ara. My sister-in-law is upstairs. My coat is upstairs. My phone is upstairs. My entire life is upstairs, Adrian, and I don't even know your middle name. I don't have a middle name. That's not the point. I know. She pulled her hand out of his. He let her. She set both her hands flat on the bar in front of her and stared at the diamond on her finger and tried to breathe. The ring was real. She could tell. She'd grown up poor, the kind of poor where you learn the difference between glass and a real stone before you learned long division, and this stone was real. It had to be 3 carats, maybe 4. The kind of ring that didn't go on a wildlife rehabber's hand, the kind of ring that went on a magazine cover. How much is this ring worth? She said. Don't. How much? Ara, tell me. It doesn't matter. It matters to me. A pause. A little under 200,000, he said quietly. She closed her eyes. Take it off me. I can't. Take it off. Aura, listen to me. Listen carefully. You can't take that ring off in this bar. You can't take it off in the lobby. You can't take it off until we are in a car with the door closed and the windows up and the driver is mine. Do you understand me? No. Then trust me. I don't trust you. I know. She opened her eyes. She looked at him. He was finally looking at her now fully, and his face had gone serious in a way that made her stomach turn over. They're still watching, he said. Aren't they? Two of them are outside on the sidewalk. You can't see them from where you're sitting. I can. They're standing under the awning of the building across the street, pretending to smoke. Adrian. They're going to follow us, Era. Whichever one of us walks out of here alone is going to be followed home, and one of us is going to wake up dead. Probably me. Possibly you. Possibly me. Yes. She felt the bourbon turn over in her stomach. She felt the ring on her finger turn into something hot and heavy and strange. She felt the careful, ordered shape of her life, the kennel in Lamont, the tiger cub Maurice, and the Christmas party, and the canapes, and the husband she'd buried 3 Octobers ago. She felt all of it tilt sideways and start to slide. Why me? She said again. He didn't answer. Adrian, why me? I told you. Tell me again. He let out a slow breath. He reached for his own glass, which she only now realized he hadn't touched the entire time, and he took the smallest sip a man could take. Because you didn't flinch, he said. What? When I sat down, when I put the ring on your finger, when I told you we were going to die. You didn't flinch, Ara. You looked at me. Most people, you tell them they're about to die, they make a sound, they pull away, they draw attention. You went still, like an animal that's already decided whether to fight or run and is only waiting to see which one it needs to be. That's not a compliment. It wasn't meant to be. You picked me because I looked like I'd been broken before. He didn't answer. That was the answer. She felt something cold move under her ribs. Not anger, not yet. Something more dangerous than anger. She felt seen, and she did not want to be seen, not by him, not by anyone, not tonight, when she was wearing a dead woman's husband's family's borrowed dress and trying to make it through one Christmas party without crying in a bathroom. Adrian Volkov, she said softly, whatever business you are in, I want you to listen to me very carefully. I am going to walk out of this bar with you. I am going to get in your car. I am going to let you take me somewhere safe because I don't want to die tonight, and I don't want my sister-in-law to be the one who has to identify my body. But after that, this is over. You take this ring off my finger, you forget my name, you go solve your own problems. Are we clear? We're clear. Say it. We're clear, Ara. Good. She picked up her glass. She drank what was left in it. She set it down on the bar with a sound louder than she meant to make. Now what? She said. Now you stand up like a woman in love. You let me put my coat around your shoulders. You laugh at something I say. You walk out the door with my arm around your waist. You wave at the doorman. You get into a black town car that's already waiting at the curb. You let me close the door behind you. Can you do that? Yes. Are you going to do that? Yes. Ara. What? Thank you. She didn't answer. She just stood up. The ring was very heavy. The car was warm. That was the first thing Ara noticed when the door closed behind her, the warmth and the smell of leather and the absolute soundless thickness of the silence inside. The traffic on Michigan Avenue, which had been roaring around them on the sidewalk 3 seconds earlier, was simply gone. Whatever this car was made of, it was made for people who didn't want the world to reach them. The driver didn't turn around, didn't speak, didn't ask where they were going. Adrian said one word. Anton. The driver nodded once and the car pulled smoothly away from the curb. For a long minute, neither of them spoke. Ara watched the city slide past her window. Garlands on the lampposts, wreaths in the storefronts. A drunk Santa on the corner of Wacker ringing a bell for some charity he probably wasn't really collecting for. Christmas. Christmas was happening to other people. Christmas had been happening to other people for 3 years now. You can take it off, Adrian said quietly. She looked down at her hand. The ring was still there. She didn't take it off. Ara, where are we going? My place. No. Ara, I am not going to your place. Take me to my sister-in-law's apartment, Roscoe Village. I'll give you the address. They will follow us there. Then drop me 3 blocks away. Ara, I am not going to your place, Adrian. A pause. The driver, Anton, made a slow turn. The Christmas lights blurred past. There's a hotel, Adrian said carefully, on Ohio. I keep a room there. It's clean. It's safe. I won't come up. Anton will bring you up. You can lock the door. You can stay there until we figure out what to do next. And tomorrow morning in daylight, we can talk about everything you want to talk about. Your terms, your conditions, whatever you want. And the ring. Keep wearing it tonight. Just tonight. Tomorrow in the daylight with coffee, we'll figure it out. She stared at him. You said this was over after I got in the car. No, he said. You said that. I never agreed. Adrian, Ara, listen to me. Listen. He turned in his seat. He looked at her with that same flat, exhausted honesty he'd had in the bar. You did something for me tonight that I had no right to ask for. I know that. I will spend whatever it takes to make that right. But Yuri Reshevsky is not a man who walks out of a bar and forgets a face. He saw you. He named you. He called you a wolf. He is going to ask his people about you tonight. And within 24 hours, he is going to know everything about you that I know about you and probably more. He will know about your clinic, about your sister-in-law, about your husband. She flinched. He saw it. His voice softened. About your husband, Ara. About what happened. About all of it. Don't. I have to. How do you know about my husband? A long pause. I asked someone to find out who you were while you were finishing your drink, he said. It took 8 minutes. Anton had a name and a basic file in 8 minutes. Yuri's people will have one in 12 hours. And once they have it, the only thing standing between you and them is the lie that you are mine. Do you understand me? She understood him. She understood him perfectly. She felt the ring on her finger get heavier by another 10 pounds. You son of a, I know. You ran a background check on me. I had to. While I was trying to save your life. While I was trying to save both our lives, Ara, don't say my name like that. Don't say it soft. You don't get to say it soft. He stopped talking. She looked out the window. Her eyes were burning. She would not cry in this car. She would not cry in front of this man. She had not cried in front of a man in 3 years, and she was not going to start tonight. Tell me what happened to my husband, she said. Ara, tell me, whatever's in that file, tell me what it says. I don't think this is the, tell me, Adrian. He was quiet for a long beat. Then very softly, Daniel Quinn, 36, paramedic with Chicago Fire Department, Engine 18. October 14th, 3 years ago, responded to a multi-vehicle accident on the Dan Ryan. Was struck by a secondary collision while loading a patient. Died at the scene. Survived by his wife, Era Quinn, veterinarian, and a brother, Marcus Quinn, married to Marin Quinn. She closed her eyes. She had not heard anyone say all those words out loud in that order in 3 years. She'd heard pieces of them. Marin sometimes said the accident. Marcus said Danny. The grief counselor said your loss. Nobody said the whole thing. Nobody put the words struck and secondary collision and died at the scene in a row anymore, because everyone in her life understood that those words went off in her chest like small bombs. This stranger had just lined them up and lit the fuse. Why? She whispered. Why what? Why did you read me that? Out loud. In your car. 2 hours after I saved your life. Because you asked me to. That's not why. A pause. No, he said. That's not why. Then why? He was quiet for a long time. The car moved through the city. The driver did not turn around. Because I wanted you to know that I know, Adrian said finally. Because if you and I are going to do this thing, whatever this thing is, you needed to know that I am not a man who comes to you with anything hidden. I will lie to Yuri Reshevsky. I will lie to my father. I will lie to every man in this city if it keeps me alive. But if you ask me a question, Ara, I am going to answer it, even when the answer is ugly, especially then. That's a very pretty speech. I know. Did you rehearse it? No. Liar. A little. She almost laughed. It scared her how close she came to laughing. She turned her face back to the window so he couldn't see what her mouth was doing. The car rolled on. Christmas lights, a couple kissing under a street lamp, a man with a cardboard sign at a red light. What's in this for you, she said. What? This deal you're about to offer me, in the daylight, over coffee, with my conditions and my terms. What's in it for you? Time. Time for what? Time to get out. She turned her head. He was looking straight ahead now, not at her, and his face had gone strange. It had gone tired in a way that wasn't physical. It was the kind of tired she sometimes saw in old dogs that had been chained outside for a decade, the tired that went down to the bone. I'm trying to leave the business, Ara, he said quietly. It's not a thing you leave easily. It's not a thing my father will let me leave at all. The only way out is to be more valuable on the outside than on the inside, and the only way to do that is to make the men around me believe certain things about my life that aren't true yet. An engagement is one of them. To a stranger. To anyone. Why a stranger then? Why not somebody real? Somebody who already loves you? He didn't answer. The silence got long. Audrey, there isn't anyone, Ara. There has to be. There isn't. Bull. There isn't anyone who would survive being the woman I love. Not in the world I live in. The woman I love becomes a target the moment Yuri Reshevsky learns her name. Do you understand what I'm telling you? She understood. She understood it the way you understand a thing you wish you didn't. You picked me, she said slowly, because I was alone, because nobody is watching me, because I have no one left for them to threaten. He didn't answer. That was the answer. Adrian. Yes. That's the cruelest thing anyone has ever done to me. I know. And I think it might also be the most honest thing anyone has ever done to me, and I don't know what to do with that. I know. She pressed her forehead against the cold glass of the window. Outside, the snow had started the first soft flakes of the night, drifting past the lamppost like ash. 6 weeks, she said. What? You said you needed time. How much? 6 weeks. 6 weeks of what? 6 weeks of being seen with me. 6 weeks of being my fiancé at certain dinners, certain parties, certain meetings. 6 weeks of letting Yuri and his people believe a story about me that isn't true. After that, I'll have what I need. I'll be out. You'll be free. The ring is yours. The money is yours. Whatever you want, yours. And if it doesn't work? He didn't answer. Adrian, if it doesn't work, if your father finds out, if Yuri figures it out, if something goes wrong, then we'll have a problem. What kind of problem? The kind of problem that follows you home, Ara. She closed her eyes again. She felt the ring on her finger. She felt the warm weight of the car around her. She felt dimly the way the world had been small and quiet and survivable. Just 3 hours ago, when she'd been in scrubs, holding the heart of a tiger cub in her hands, and she'd thought the worst thing about her day was the rich client who'd cried about her purebred and tipped her $10. I have conditions, she said, tell me. No more lies between us. Not one. You lie to Yuri. You lie to your father. You lie to whoever you need to lie to. But you do not lie to me, Adrian Volkov, not once in 6 weeks, or I walk and I take this ring with me, and I sell it and I disappear. Done. I keep my practice, my clinic, my patients. You do not interfere with my work. The animals come first, always. Done. And if it gets too dangerous, if it gets too close to the people I love, I walk in. No questions, no pleas, no talking me out of it. I walk and you let me walk. A pause, a small, almost invisible pause, but she felt it. Adrian. Done, he said. You hesitated. I know. Why? He turned his head. He looked at her for the first time in a long minute. Because I don't know yet, Ara, whether I'll be able to let you walk by then. She stared at him. She stared at him for a very long time. The car turned onto Ohio. The hotel was 3 blocks ahead. She could see the lights of the awning, the doorman in his red coat, the world about to open back up around her and swallow her whole. That was the wrong answer, she said quietly. I know. That was a very wrong answer, Adrian. It was the only honest one I had. You are going to ruin my life. You said that already. I'm saying it again. He almost smiled. It was a small, broken thing. It barely moved his mouth. Okay, Ara, he said. Okay. The car slowed. The doorman stepped forward. The diamond on her finger caught the light of the hotel awning and threw it back at her, brilliant and cold and absolutely real. She did not take the ring off. Not that night, not yet. She didn't sleep. That was the first thing Ara understood about the hotel room, that she was not going to sleep in it. She sat on the edge of the bed with her shoes still on her coat, still on the ring, still on, and she watched the door for 4 hours, like the door might open by itself. It didn't. What opened at 6:14 in the morning was her phone. Marin. 12 missed calls. Ayara looked down at the screen and felt her stomach drop the way it had dropped in the bar, the way it had dropped in the car, the way it had been dropping in 5-minute intervals all night. She picked up. Where are you? Marin's voice was the voice of a woman who had already cried and was now operating on the dry, terrible adrenaline that came after. I'm okay. Where are you, Ara? I'm at a hotel. I'm fine. Marin, I'm fine. You are not fine. You disappeared from your own goddamn family Christmas party. Marcus is downtown, driving in circles. I called the police, Ara. I called the police 40 minutes ago because I thought, Marin's voice broke. Because I thought you'd done something. Ara closed her eyes. Marin, listen to me. Don't Marin me. Don't use that voice on me. That's the voice you used at Danny's funeral. I know that voice. That is the voice you use when you are about to lie to me to make me feel better. And I am telling you right now, Era Quinn, if you lie to me on this phone call, I am done. I am done. Do you understand me? I will love you until I die, but I will not do this with you anymore. Era opened her mouth. She thought about the ring on her finger. She thought about Adrian saying no more lies between us. She thought about Yuri Reshevsky's flat butcher's eyes and the way the diamond had caught the light when she lifted her glass and said the words he proposed. Marin, she said quietly, something happened last night. I know something happened. Something I can't explain on the phone. Then come home and explain it in my kitchen. I can't. Ara, I can't. Marin, not yet. I need a few hours. I need to think. Are you safe a beat? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. Are you alone? A longer beat. Yes. Ara? What? That second yes was slower than the first one. Ara closed her eyes. Marin, I'm coming to get you. Tell me where you are. No. Ara. No, Marin, please, please. Give me until tonight. Give me until tonight and I will come to your apartment and I will sit at your kitchen table and I will tell you everything. Everything. I swear on Danny. I swear on him. The line went very quiet. You did not swear on Danny. That was the rule between the two of them, the rule that nobody had ever spoken out loud. You did not swear on Danny because Danny was the only currency that still worked between Marin and Ara, and you did not spend Danny on small things. Okay, Marin said finally. Her voice had gone soft and shaky. Okay, sweetheart. Okay, tonight. You come tonight. You walk through my door tonight. I will. You'd better. I will, Marin. Ara. Yes. Whatever it is, whatever happened, we'll figure it out. You hear me? You and me, we'll figure it out. Ara couldn't answer. She just hung up the phone. She sat there on the edge of the bed for another long minute, and then she did something she hadn't done in 3 years. She started to cry. Not loud, not the way you cry in movies. Just a slow, private, tired leaking that started at her eyes and didn't seem to want to stop. She cried because Marin had said, we'll figure it out. She cried because Marin had said it the way Danny used to say it. She cried because she had just lied to the only person left in the world who had earned the right to her honesty, and she had lied for a man she had known for less than 12 hours. She cried until her phone buzzed again. Different number. Unknown. She picked up. Ara. Adrian. How did you get this number? You know how. Right. She wiped her face with the back of her hand, the hand without the ring, and she made her voice flat. Right, of course. Anton. Anton, good morning. Don't say good morning to me. Ara. Don't say Ara to me either. You don't get to say my name softly 2 days in a row, Volkov. That's the new rule. What do you want? A pause. She heard him breathe. Coffee, he said. Downstairs. 20 minutes. There's a corner of the lobby restaurant where we won't be heard. I'd like to keep my promise to you. Which promise? The one where I answer your questions in the daylight. It's December. The sun isn't up yet. Close enough. Adrian. Yes. If I come downstairs and you bring even one other person to that table, I am walking out of that lobby and you will never see me again. Not Anton, not your father, not whoever else thinks they have a right to me this morning. You alone. Done. 20 minutes. She hung up. She sat there for another minute looking at the ring. Then she got up, walked to the bathroom, washed her face with cold water until her skin hurt, and stared at the woman in the mirror, 34 hollow-eyed, wearing a borrowed dress that had spent the night on her body, and she said out loud, "You absolute idiot." The woman in the mirror did not disagree. He was already at the table when she came down. One coffee in front of him, one in front of the empty seat across from him. He had changed clothes different. Suit dark navy, no tie this time, and he looked exactly as tired as she felt, which she found she resented, and also very quietly in some part of herself she did not want to examine, found she liked. She sat down. Black law, he said, sliding the second cup toward her. How did you know? I didn't, I guessed. Lucky guess. Yeah. She looked at him over the rim of the cup. All right, Volkov, daylight, coffee, promise, go. Where do you want me to start? Your father. He blinked. He hadn't expected that. Ara. You said your father would be furious about the engagement. You said he didn't know yet. You said Yuri would tell him by morning, so has he called you? 3 times. Did you pick up? Not yet. Why not? Because I wanted to talk to you first. What's his name? A pause. Victor? Victor Volkov. And what does Victor Volkov do? Ara. What does he do, Adrian? He looked at her for a long beat. He runs a logistics company on paper, he said. On paper, he ships consumer goods through the port at Indiana Harbor. Off paper, he also ships other things, some of which are people, most of which are not. He has done this for 31 years. He has never been arrested. He has buried 4 men I knew personally and 1 woman I am not going to name. Ara's coffee stopped halfway to her mouth. She set it down very slowly. And you, she said, what about me? What is your job in this company? He didn't answer right away. Adrian, my job, he said quietly, for the last 12 years has been to clean up the things that go wrong. I am the man my father sends when an account becomes a problem, when a partner becomes a problem, when a witness becomes a problem. I solve problems, Ara. I have solved a lot of problems. She felt her hands start to shake. She set the cup all the way down on the table so he wouldn't see. Have you killed people? She said. Ara, that's a yes or no question. It's never a yes or no question. It is from where I'm sitting. A long, terrible silence. Yes, he said. How many? Don't ask me that. How many, Adrian? Don't ask me that this morning, please. Please, Ara. Ask me that in 2 weeks. Ask me that on a different morning. I'll tell you, I swear I'll tell you, but not at this table, not before you've finished your coffee. She stared at him. She had spent her entire adult life learning how to read pain in things that couldn't speak. And what she was looking at across that small round table in that hotel restaurant was a man whose pain had become so large he had stopped being able to carry it and was now simply standing inside it, the way you stand inside a house after the fire. She hated briefly and intensely that she could see that. Okay, she said. Okay, not this morning. But you owe me that answer, Volkov, and I am going to collect it. Are we clear? We're clear. Tell me about Yuri. He let out a breath. His shoulders, which she only now realized had been up around his ears, came down a quarter of an inch. Yuri Rashevsky, he said, is my father's oldest friend and his most patient enemy. He works for a man named Pavel Kamenev. Pavel and my father were partners for 20 years and stopped being partners 18 months ago over a shipment that never made it to the buyer. Each of them blames the other. Each of them is correct partially. The thing they cannot agree on is the cost. Cost in money. Cost in bodies, Ara. Right. Yuri came to that bar last night to tell me on Pavel's behalf that I had 48 hours to make a decision. The decision was whether I was going to stay loyal to my father who was sliding or come over to Pavel who was rising. If I stayed with my father, Yuri was going to put a bullet in the base of my skull on a sidewalk this week and walk away. If I came over to Pavel, I would be allowed to live, but I would belong to him for the rest of my life. And the engagement. The engagement is option 3, which is that I am leaving the business entirely, which is a thing they had not previously believed I could do because men in my family don't leave. The engagement makes it real to them. It tells them I have something on the outside now, something to lose, something that makes me less useful as muscle and more useful as a man who pays out quietly for the rest of his life and never speaks to a federal prosecutor. That's why Yuri laughed. That's why Yuri laughed. He believed me. He believed you. He won't keep believing me. No, Adrian said, he won't. He'll believe you for about 3 weeks, and then he'll start asking questions, and the questions will get sharper, and we will need answers. What kind of answers? The kind that looked like a wedding planner, a venue, a guest list, photos with my mother, rings that have been resized. Dinners where we are seen by the right people, holding hands, not flinching when his name comes up. We will need a life, Ara, a 6-week life. Convincing enough that Yuri and Pavel and my father all agree, for slightly different reasons, that I am no longer in the business they are in. And after that what? After that I disappear. I have a place. I have papers. I have a way out that has been ready for 2 years and that I have not been able to use because the moment I use it without a cover story, my father puts a man on the road behind me, and the man does not stop driving until I am dead. She stared at him. You're telling me, she said slowly, that I am not just a fiancé. I am the cover. I am the thing that lets you walk out of your father's house alive. Yes. And after the 6 weeks, I leave. You go home. The ring is yours. The money is yours. We never see each other again. And what happens to me? A pause. What do you mean? What happens to me, Adrian, after? When you've disappeared? When Pavel realizes the engagement was a lie? When your father realizes his son has run? What happens to the woman who was the cover? Does Yuri come back to my clinic on a Tuesday morning with a question and a smile? He didn't answer. Adrian, depends, Suam, he said quietly. On what? On how cleanly we end it, on whether they believe the breakup, on whether I pay enough money to enough people on my way out the door. If I do this right, Ara, you go on with your life, and nobody ever knocks on your door. And if you do it wrong, if I do it wrong, you become a loose end. She sat very still. The hotel restaurant moved around them. A waitress refilled coffee at another table. 2 businessmen in suits laughed about something at the bar. Somewhere a child cried briefly and was quieted. Christmas music on the speakers, very faint. The whole world kept turning the way the world turns, and Ara Quinn sat across from a man who had just told her in a voice as even as a weather report that there was a version of the next 6 weeks that ended with her dead. You know what's funny? She said. What? I have been waiting 3 years for someone to tell me the truth about something, about anything. After Danny died, every single person in my life decided that the best thing they could do for me was lie. He didn't suffer. He suffered, Adrian. He suffered for 40 minutes on the side of a freeway. He went quickly. He didn't. You'll feel better in time. I didn't. He'd want you to be happy. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what he'd want. He's not here to tell me. She looked down at the ring. And then last night, a complete stranger sat down next to me at a bar and told me we were going to die in 10 seconds, and he did not lie about it, and I have been thinking about that for 9 hours straight, Adrian. About how that was the truest thing anyone has said to me in 3 years. About how a man I don't know is willing to tell me over coffee that there is a road at the end of all this where I become a loose end. About how nobody in my life has had the decency to be that honest with me about anything ever since the day my husband died. He was watching her. He had stopped drinking his coffee. Ara, he said, I'm not done. Okay. I'm going to do this thing, Adrian Volkov. He went still. 6 weeks, she said. I am going to be your fiancé for 6 weeks. I am going to wear this ring in front of your father and in front of Yuri Rashevsky and in front of whoever else needs to see it. I am going to laugh at your jokes at dinners I do not want to attend. I am going to learn the names of the people I am supposed to know. I am going to lie for you hard the way you lied for yourself last night. And I am going to be very, very good at it because I am not going to be the loose end. Volkov, do you hear me? I hear you. And the day this is over, the day you walk out the door of whatever life you have built, I am taking this ring off, and I am going home to my sister-in-law and my clinic and my tiger cubs, and you are going to do something for me in return. Anything. You are going to live, Adrian. He blinked. What? You are going to live. Wherever you go, whoever you become, whatever name you pick, you are going to live a long, dull, boring life. You are going to take this terrible thing. My husband's death taught me that life is short, that it ends in the middle of sentences, that it does not give you back the years it takes, and you are going to honor it. You are going to live a life that is so quiet your father's people cannot find you, and so full your old self cannot find you either. That is the price. That is the only price I will accept. He stared at her. For the first time since she had met him, Adrian Volkov looked like a man who did not have an answer ready. Ara, say yes, Volkov. That is not a normal price. I am not a normal woman. I have not been normal for 3 years. Say yes. A beat, a long beat. He set down his coffee. He reached across the table slowly and he laid his hand flat in front of hers, palm up like a man laying down a weapon. Yes, he said. She looked at his hand. She did not take it. She just looked at it, this stranger's hand. The hand of a man who had killed a number of people he would not yet name. The hand that had put a $200,000 ring on her finger less than 14 hours ago. And she felt somewhere underneath the bourbon and the exhaustion and the borrowed black dress, the very first sharp green shoot of something she had thought was dead in her for 3 years. It was not love. It was nowhere near love. It was the small, stubborn, uninvited thing that comes before love. The thing that says, oh, the thing that says, there you are. She hated it. She hated it so much. She picked up her coffee with the hand that had the ring on it. The diamond caught the morning light pouring through the lobby window and threw it across the white tablecloth in a small, bright wound. 6 weeks, Adrian. 6 weeks, Ara. Don't make me regret this. I will try not to. Try harder than that. I will. She drank her coffee. The ring was still very heavy, but it was, she noticed, beginning to feel like hers. Marin opened the door before Ara could knock. She must have been waiting at the window. She must have been waiting all day, because the moment the door swung open, Ara could see that Marin had been crying, and that she had stopped crying, and that she had now arrived at the place that a woman arrives when she has cried herself out and is operating purely on the next thing she has decided to do. The next thing she had decided to do was hug Ara so hard her ribs cracked. You are an absolute idiot, Marin said into her hair. I know. An idiot, Ara. I know, Marin. I have been calling hospitals. I know. I called Cook County. I called Northwestern. I called the morgue. The morgue, Ara. Marin, do not Marin me. Sit down. Sit down at my table right now, and you tell me everything before I lose my mind. She pulled Ara inside and shut the door behind her and locked it both locks the way Marin always locked doors since Danny died, because the world had taught her a permanent lesson about doors. Ara sat down at the kitchen table. She put her hands flat on the wood. She was wearing gloves. She had been wearing gloves for the entire walk from the cab. Marin saw the gloves and her face changed. Take those off, she said. Marin, take them off, Ara. Ara took them off. Marin's eyes went to the ring. Then they went to Ara's face. Then they went back to the ring. Then they went back to Ara's face. Ara Quinn. Marin. What? Marin, I need you to sit down. I'm not sitting down. Marin. I am not sitting down, Ara. I am going to stand right here and you are going to explain to me in plain English why you are wearing a ring that costs more than my entire apartment, on the hand that I last saw wearing my brother's wedding band 3 years ago at his funeral, where you and I made a promise to each other that we would never ever lie to each other for the rest of our lives. Explain that to me, standing up. Ara looked at her. She looked at this woman who had held her elbow at the funeral, who had sat with her at 4 a.m. the night the freezer broke and Danny's leftovers had gone bad, and Ara had cried over them like they were Danny himself. Who had been the only person in the world to keep saying his name out loud when everyone else had decided his name was a wound? Marin, Ara said, I'm going to tell you the truth. Good. And after I tell you the truth, you are going to want to do 3 things, and I need you to promise me you will not do any of them. Marin's mouth went thin. Tell me the 3 things. You are going to want to call Marcus. You are going to want to call the police. And you are going to want to put me in your guest room and lock the door from the outside and sit on the other side of it for 6 weeks until I come to my senses. A pause. That's a very specific list, Ara. I know. That's the list of a woman who has thought about it. I know. Marin sat down. She sat down slowly the way a person sits down when their knees have just made a unilateral decision without consulting the rest of the body. She folded her hands on the table opposite Ara's, and she said very quietly, tell me. Ara told her. She told her all of it. The bar, the bourbon, the man with the cold lake water eyes, the diamond on the bar like a gunshot, Yuri Reshevsky's flat butcher's smile, and the way her own mouth had said, he proposed before her brain had caught up. The car, the hotel room she had not slept in, the phone call where Marin had said, we'll figure it out in Danny's voice, the coffee at the small round table where a stranger had told her like a weather report that there was a version of the next 6 weeks that ended with her dead. She told her about the deal. She told her about the conditions. She told her about the price she had demanded, that Adrian Volkov live a long, dull, boring life, and she watched Marin's face move through 11 different expressions in a row, none of which Marin spoke out loud. When Ara was done, Marin sat there for a very long time. Then she stood up. She walked over to the kitchen counter. She picked up a bottle of red wine that had been sitting there unopened, and she poured 2 glasses without measuring. She brought them back to the table. She put one in front of Ara. She sat down. Ara, she said, yes, you are going to do this. Yes. You are going to walk out that door tomorrow morning wearing a $200,000 ring, and you are going to lie to a man who has killed people for breakfast, and you are going to call yourself the fiancé of a stranger for 6 weeks in order to help that stranger walk away from the family business of moving human beings through the ports of Indiana Harbor. Yes. And you are doing this because, a pause, Marin, because Ara. Ara looked down at the ring. She had asked herself that question 47 times since she had left the hotel. She had asked it on the cab ride. She had asked it on the elevator. She had asked it 3 steps before the front door. She had not yet been able to give herself an answer she believed. But Marin was looking at her now the way Marin always looked at her when she wanted the real answer and not the convenient one, and so Ara said the thing she had not yet said out loud, even to herself. Because he asked me to, she said quietly. Because he asked me to, and I said yes, and he said thank you, and nobody has thanked me for anything in 3 years, Marin. Not for showing up, not for staying, not for putting one foot in front of the other every single morning of the worst 3 years of my life. He thanked me for being good at lying for him in a bar for 90 seconds, and She stopped. I felt it, she said. In my chest, I felt it. Marin was very still. Ara, I know. Ara, listen to me. I know what you're going to say. No, Marin said. You don't. Because I am not going to say what you think I'm going to say. I am not going to tell you not to do this. I am not going to call Marcus. I am not going to call the police. I am going to sit at this table with you, and I am going to drink this wine, and I am going to ask you one question, and you are going to answer me honestly, and then I am going to help you, Ara, because I am the only person on the face of this earth who is qualified to help you with what you have just walked into. Ara stared at her. What? Drink your wine. Marin, drink your wine, Ara, and listen to me. Ara drank. Marin took a long, slow breath. Her hands were shaking very slightly on the stem of her glass, and Ara had not seen Marin's hands shake since the morning the funeral home called about the casket. My maiden name, Marin said quietly, is Kamenev. Ara set her glasses down. She set it down very carefully because if she had not set it down very carefully, she would have dropped it. What? Kamenev, K-A-M-E, and Marin. Pavel Kamenev is my uncle Ara, my father's older brother. I have not spoken to him in 19 years. I changed my name when I was 22. Marcus does not know. Marcus has never known. Danny did not know either before he died. I have kept this secret for almost 2 decades, and I am breaking it tonight in this kitchen because you have just walked into the middle of a war that you cannot win without me. The room got very quiet. Ara could hear the refrigerator. Marin. I know. Marin what? I know, Ara. How is this possible? It's possible because I made it possible. I was a kid, Ara. I was 19. My uncle had just had a man killed in front of me in a parking lot in Brighton Beach, and I got on a Greyhound bus the next morning with a duffel bag and $300, and I rode for 40 hours to the only city in America where I knew nobody, and I built a new last name for myself, and I built a new life on top of it, and I never looked back. Not once, not even when my mother was dying. Not even when my father called me from a payphone the night before he was buried and asked me to come home. I never looked back, Ara, and I would not be looking back now if you had not just sat down at my kitchen table and told me you are about to be the fiancé of Viktor Volkov's son. Ara could not speak. Drink, Marin said. Ara drank. It was the wrong gulp. It went down wrong. She coughed and her eyes watered, and Marin reached across the table and took her hand, the hand without the ring, and held it the way Marin had held it at the funeral. Listen to Ma, Marin said. Listen carefully. There is a war going on right now that you have just stepped into the middle of, and you do not know the shape of the war yet, and your fiancé is not going to tell you the shape of it because your fiancé does not know the whole shape himself. He thinks he does. He doesn't. Viktor Volkov and Pavel Kamenev have been at each other's throats for 31 years, are not 18 months. The thing they are fighting over is older than you. Older than me, it is older than this whole country in a way that I cannot explain to you over wine. And the boy you have agreed to marry is the only son of one side of that war. He's not a boy. He is to me, Ara. How old is your uncle? 73. Do you think he knows about me yet? A pause. Yes. Yes. He knew by 10 o'clock this morning, Ara. There is a man named Victor Stein who runs Pavel's intelligence operations out of a deli in Bucktown, and he knew your name and your address and your husband's name by 10 o'clock this morning because Yuri Rashevsky called him at 6. And by noon, he knew that you live in Lemont, and by 2, he knew the name of your sister-in-law, and by 4, Marin stopped. Ara stared at her. By 4, what, Marin? By 4, he knew that your sister-in-law's maiden name is Kamenev. The kitchen went absolutely silent. Ara could not breathe. Marin, I know. Marin, no. I know, Ara. You're telling me Pavel Kamenev knows that the woman engaged to his enemy's son is the woman who married his missing niece's brother-in-law. Yes, he knows that. He has known that for about 4 hours now. How do you know? Because I got a phone call at 4:11 this afternoon from a number I have not seen in 19 years, Ara, from a payphone in a deli in Bucktown. You answered. I did not answer. Of course I did not answer. But the voicemail asked me to come to a dinner on Sunday. A family dinner, Marina. That's what it called me. Marina. Nobody has called me Marina in 19 years. Ara put her face in her hands. For a long moment, she just sat like that. Her elbows on Marin's kitchen table, her face in her hands, the ring pressing cold against her cheekbone. I have to tell him, she said. Adrian. I have to tell Adrian. Ara. He told me everything, Marin. Everything about his father, about Yuri, about what he's done. He told me there was a version of this where I end up dead, and he said it out loud to me at a table over coffee. He has been honest with me when nobody else has been honest with me in 3 years. And now I'm sitting here knowing something he needs to know, and I cannot keep it from him, Marin. I will not. Marin let go of her hand. She picked up her wine. She drank slowly. When she set the glass down, her hand was very steady. You're going to tell him, she said. Yes. Tonight. Yes. Ara, listen to me. Listen. If you tell that man tonight that your sister-in-law is Pavel Kamenev's blood, you are putting my life in his hands. Not just yours, mine, Marcus's, whatever children Marcus and I might have someday. Every single thing I built in 19 years on top of a Greyhound bus seat. Do you understand the size of what you are about to do? Yes. And you are still going to do it. Yes. Why? Because if I don't, Marin, then the deal is off. The deal was no lies. The deal was the only thing that makes the next 6 weeks survivable. The deal was the only honest thing in my life, and I am not going to start it on a lie, especially a lie that I am keeping in the same room as you. Marin looked at her for a long, long time. Then she did something Ara did not expect. She smiled. It was a small, exhausted, almost angry smile, and there were tears in her eyes when she did it, but it was a smile. Okay, Marin said. Okay. Okay, Ara, you tell him. But you tell him here at this table, because if I am going to put my life in the hands of the son of Viktor Volkov, I am going to do it in my own kitchen, looking him in the face with my wine in my hand. Ara stared at her. You want me to bring him here? I want you to bring him here. Marin, tonight, Ara, call him. Tell him there has been a development. Tell him the development is at my kitchen table. Tell him to come alone. No Anton, no driver waiting around the corner with a gun, just him walking through my door like a man and not like a problem. He won't agree to that. Then we don't have a deal, Ara. None of us have a deal. Tell him that too. Ara looked at her. She had known Marin for 11 years. She had thought she knew everything about her. She had thought she knew the shape of Marin's whole life. The dental hygienist career, the runaway father, the dead mother, the first marriage that ended badly, the second marriage to Marcus that had given Marin the steadiest version of herself Ara had ever seen. She had not until this exact moment known that the steady version of Marin had been built brick by brick on top of a runaway 19-year-old who had survived a parking lot in Brighton Beach. Marin. Yes. Were you ever going to tell me? Any of it, ever? Marin looked at her. No, she said. I was going to take it to my grave. I was good at taking it to my grave, Ara. I had practiced. I was going to die a Quinn and not a Kamenev, and Marcus was going to bury me and never know. And that was the plan. That was the plan for 19 years. And now my brother's widow has just walked into my kitchen wearing the ring of Viktor Volkov's only son, and the plan has gone to hell. And I am going to do what my mother taught me to do when the plan goes to hell, which is to put my elbows on a table and tell the truth and hope God is paying attention. Ara reached across the table. She took Marin's hand. She did it with the hand wearing the ring on purpose. Marin, she said. Yes. I'm going to call him now. Okay. And he is going to come. Okay. And we are going to sit at this table, the three of us, and we are going to figure out what to do the way we figured out what to do when Danny died. Because that is what you and I have always been good at. Marin's eyes filled. Okay, Ara. And if he says no, if he refuses to come, if he tries to send Anton, if he tries to put us in a hotel, if he tries to do anything other than walk through your front door tonight on his own 2 feet, then the deal is off. The ring comes off, and you and I get on a plane tomorrow morning to anywhere that isn't here. You'd really come with me. Marin, you'd really get on a plane with me. Yes. You haven't been on a plane in 3 years, Ara. I'd get on a plane tonight, right now, if you said the word. Marin started crying quietly. Marin almost never cried quietly. Marin was a loud crier. Marin sobbed when she watched dog food commercials. But this was a different kind of crying. This was the slow, private leaking of a woman who had been alone inside a secret for 19 years and had just finally set part of it down. Call him, Marin said. Call him Ara. Call him before I lose my nerve. Ara picked up her phone. She dialed Adrian's number. He picked up on the second ring. Ara? Adrian. What's wrong? She glanced across the table at Marin. Marin nodded once. There has been a development, Ara said. I need you to come somewhere, tonight, alone. No Anton, no driver around the corner. Just you. A pause. Where? My sister-in-law's apartment. Roscoe Village. A longer pause. Ara. What? You're telling me to come unarmed, alone, to an address I don't know, to meet a person I haven't been briefed on, after being told that there has been a development on the second day of an arrangement I do not yet trust. Yes. You understand what you are asking? Yes. A silence. Why, he said. Ara looked at Marin. Marin looked back at her. Because the deal was no lies, Adrian, Ara said quietly. And there is something you need to know, and it is not the kind of thing I can say on a phone, and if I do not say it tonight before the sun comes up, then everything you and I just agreed to over coffee falls apart. A long, long silence on the other end of the line. Then Adrian Volkov, in a voice she had not heard him use yet, a voice that was not soft and was not careful, and was not a performance, a voice that was simply a man, said, Text me the address. Ara closed her eyes. Okay. Ara. What? If I walk into a trap tonight, I want you to know something. Adrian, don't. I want you to know that I do not believe you have set one. I want that on the record. Whatever happens, whoever is in that apartment when I get there, you did not bring me to it in bad faith. I want you to hear me say that out loud. Ara could not answer. Her throat was closed. Across the table, Marin watched her face and reached very slowly, very carefully for the wine bottle and refilled both their glasses without taking her eyes off her sister-in-law. Adrian, Ara said finally. Yes. Just come. I'm coming. She hung up. She set the phone down on Marin's kitchen table. The ring on her finger caught the light over the sink and threw a small, bright spot up onto the wall above Marin's head, and the two women sat there at that table in that kitchen on the second night of the rest of Alcaraquin's life and waited for a knock at the door. He knocked at 9:41. 3 knocks, even spaced, not the knock of a man who was nervous, not the knock of a man who was angry, the knock of a man who had decided something in the cab on the way over and was now arriving to do it. Marin stood up. I'll get it, she said. Marin? Ara, I'll get it. He's about to walk into my kitchen. He's going to look me in the face before he sits down at my table. That is non-negotiable. Ara did not argue. Marin walked to the door. She unlocked the top lock. She unlocked the bottom lock. She opened the door. Adrian Volkov was standing on the other side of it. He was alone. He was wearing the same dark navy suit he had been wearing at the coffee table that morning. He was holding nothing in his hands. No briefcase, no flowers, no gun that Ara could see, although she understood the way Marin had taught her to understand in the last 3 hours that the absence of a visible gun was not the same thing as the absence of a gun. Marin looked him up and down. Mr. Volkov, she said. Mrs. Quinn. Marin is fine. Adrian. I know who you are, Adrian. A pause. I think we both know, Marin said, that you don't yet know who I am. Come in. Take your coat off. Sit down at my table. There is wine or there is water, and there is one chair waiting for you, and you and I are going to have a conversation that neither of us was expecting to have when we woke up this morning. He did not move for a moment. He looked past Marin into the apartment. His eyes found Era at the kitchen table. His eyes stayed on Era for a long, careful beat. And whatever he was looking for in her face, he must have found it because something in his shoulders dropped a quarter of an inch, and he stepped over the threshold of Marin's apartment like a man stepping into water he didn't yet know the depth of. Marin closed the door behind him. She locked the top lock. She locked the bottom lock. Adrian noticed. He did not say anything about it. He walked to the kitchen table the way Marin had told him to, and he took off his coat the way Marin had told him to, and he sat down in the chair across from Ara. Ara, he said. Adrian, you okay? No. Okay. He did not ask anything else. He waited. Marin poured him a glass of wine. She set it in front of him. She sat down at the head of her own table because it was her table and she folded her hands. Adrian, she said. Yes. My maiden name is Kamenev. She said it flat, the way a doctor tells you the lab result, the way a paramedic tells you he's sorry, the way a woman who has practiced a sentence in her head for 19 years tells the sentence finally in her own kitchen. Adrian Volkov did not move. He did not move for a very long second. Then very slowly he set down his wine. He set it down without drinking from it. He put both hands flat on the table, palms down, the way he had laid his hand down for Era that morning. And he looked at Marin and he said in a voice that was not soft and was not careful, whose blood? Pavel is my uncle, my father's brother. I left when I was 19. I have not spoken to any of them in 19 years. Marcus does not know. Danny did not know. Ara found out 3 hours ago at this table because I told her. Why did you tell her? Because she walked into my apartment wearing a ring that was going to get her killed, and I am the only person in the city of Chicago who could have prevented it. He looked at Ara. Ara looked back at him. Adrian, she said, I'm telling you because the deal was no lies. I am telling you the same night I learned it. I am telling you in the only kitchen in the world where the three of us could sit at the same table without somebody hearing it. I am telling you because I would rather hand you this and lose the deal than keep this and keep the deal. He was silent. She felt her heart in her throat. Adrian, give me a minute. Okay. He picked up his wine. He drank. He set it down. He looked at Marin. Mrs. Quinn. Marin, I'm going to ask you some questions. I'm going to ask them quickly. I need you to answer them quickly and as honestly as you can. Will you do that? Yes. Did your uncle send you here? No. Has he contacted you in the last 24 hours? Yes, a voicemail, 4:11 this afternoon from a payphone in Bucktown. He invited me to a family dinner on Sunday. Did you respond? No. Does he know that I am sitting at this table right now? No, Ethan. Does anybody know I am sitting at this table right now? Just the three of us. Marcus is at his firm's holiday party in Schaumburg until midnight. He won't be home for 90 minutes. I checked his calendar before I called Ara back this morning. Adrian blinked. You checked his calendar. Adrian, I have been the niece of Pavel Kamenev for 19 years longer than I have been your fiancée's sister-in-law. Yes, I checked his calendar. He almost smiled, almost. Marin, yes. You understand that what you have just told me changes everything. I do. You understand that I now have sitting at this table two pieces of leverage. The fiancé who I needed yesterday, and the niece who I did not know existed 20 minutes ago. Marin's hand tightened on her wine glass. Ara saw it. Adrian saw it. I'm not going to use it, he said. Adrian, Ara said. I'm not Ara. I am telling you both, right now, at this table, out loud. I am not going to use what Marin just gave me. Not tonight, not next week, not ever. I am going to sit here and I am going to drink this wine and I am going to tell the two of you what we are actually dealing with. Because Marin has just changed the math and Ara needs to understand the new math and I need both of you to be on the same page about it before I leave this apartment. He looked at Marin. Is that acceptable to you? Yes, Marin said. I'm going to need you to trust me for the next 40 minutes with information that has kept you alive for 19 years. Can you do that? A pause. I'm going to try Adrian. That's all I'm going to ask. He drank again. He set his wine down. He folded his hands on Marin's table. My father is dying, he said. Ara's wine glass froze halfway to her mouth. What? Pancreatic cancer, stage 4. He was diagnosed 11 months ago. He has told no one outside of 3 people, and one of those people is me. He has approximately, his oncologist tells me, 5 to 7 months left. Marin closed her eyes. That's why, she said quietly. That's why, Adrian said. That's why your uncle is moving now. That's why Yuri came to the bar last night with a 48-hour deadline, son. That's why everything in the next 6 weeks happens in the next 6 weeks and not next year and not the year after. Pavel knows. He has known for about 6 weeks. He thinks he has a window. He is correct that he has a window. He is incorrect about the size of it. How big is the window, Marin said. Bigger than he thinks and smaller than I want. Wait at he. Because my father, sick as he is, has spent 11 months preparing. He has moved assets. He has called in favors. He has put certain things in certain places that your uncle does not know about yet. He is not going to die quietly, Marin. He is going to die loudly in a way that takes a number of people with him, and the only person on earth who knows the full shape of what he has prepared is sitting at this table, and that person is me. Marin stared at him. You. Me. He told me 3 weeks ago. He told me because he is knows and he is afraid and he wanted somebody to know. And what he does not know, what he must not ever know, is that I am not going to use what he told me to win his war. I am going to use it to end it. Adrian, Ara whispered. Ara, what does that mean, end it? It means, he said carefully, that I am sitting on enough information to bury my father's organization and your uncle's organization in the same federal indictment. I have been sitting on it for 3 weeks. I have not moved on it because the moment I move on it, I become a dead man walking, and there is no version of that play where I walk away clean. Unless, Marin said, unless you have a fiancé with no connection to either family. Unless I have a fiancé with no connection to either family. Yes. Which Ara until 3 hours ago was. Which Ara until 3 hours ago was. Marin let out a long breath. And now, Adrian said quietly, it is more complicated. Wait, Timbo. Because if the federal government shows up to a family wedding rehearsal dinner 3 weeks from now and arrests 41 people, including my father and your uncle, in the same room on the same night, the only person in the country whose face will be on every front page is Era Quinn. And the second face will be yours, Marin. Because somebody somewhere will figure out who you are. Somebody always does. Marin's hand was very tight on her wineglass. How many people? What? How many people are you putting in that room, Adrian? On that night, with my niece-in-law as the public face of it. 41, as of last week. The number changes. Including my uncle. Including your uncle. Including your father. Including my father. And you knew all of this, Marin said slowly, when you sat down next to Ara at a bar last night. Yes. You knew you were going to bring her into a room with 41 people in it. Yes. You knew that ring on her finger was going to be on a federal evidence list inside of 6 weeks. Yes. And you put it on her hand anyway. He didn't answer. That was the answer. Marin closed her eyes. For a long moment, the only sound in the kitchen was the refrigerator and the small, distant noise of somebody's TV down the hall. Ara could not move. She could not breathe. She was looking at Adrian Volkov across her sister-in-law's kitchen table, and what she was understanding for the first time was that the man who had sat down next to her at a luxury bar in Chicago 26 hours ago had not been a man saving his own life. He had been a man who had already decided to die for something and was looking in that bar at every face in the room for the one face that could make the dying mean something. He had picked her face. He had picked it because he had read her file and seen that she was a widow. He had picked it because he had known that a widow understood the price of a life. Adrian, Ara, look at me. He looked at her. His eyes were the same November lake water they had been in the bar, but there was something underneath them now that she had not seen before, or that she had seen and had not understood until this moment was grief. He was grieving. He had been grieving the entire time she had known him. He was grieving a father he had not yet buried, and a life he had not yet escaped, and a long, dull, boring future he had been trying to build for himself in secret for 2 years, and a woman he had needed to find at a bar in Chicago to make any of it possible. Adrian Volkov, she said quietly. Yes. I'm going to ask you one question, and you are going to answer me honestly, because that is the deal we made over coffee this morning, and that is the deal we are not going to break tonight in this kitchen in front of my sister-in-law. Ask. Were you going to tell me about the federal indictment, about the 41 people, about the rehearsal dinner, about my face on every front page? A very long pause. Yes, he said. When? In 3 weeks. 3 weeks. After my father's birthday dinner, Ara. After we had been seen by enough people. After we had built a story that could survive the headlines. after it was too late for either of us to back out. Adrian. I know. Adrian, that is not the deal we made. I know. You said no lies. I said no lies between us. I did not say no withholding. Don't. Ara, don't you dare. Don't you dare, Adrian Volkov, sit at my sister-in-law's kitchen table and split that hair with me. You said no lies. You looked at me over coffee, and you said whatever the answer is, even when it's ugly, especially then, you said that. I am not making it up. I know. Then why? Because I needed you to say yes, Ara. I would have said yes. You would have said no. Don't tell me what I would have said. You would have said no. Ara and I needed you to say yes, and I told myself the lie that I would tell you in 3 weeks, and I am telling you now, and the reason I am telling you now is because Marin sat down across from me 20 minutes ago and told me her last name, and I realized in this kitchen that if I did not tell you tonight, I was going to lose you in 3 weeks anyway, and I would lose you having lied. I would rather lose you tonight telling the truth. Ara stared at him. Her hand was shaking. The diamond on her finger was throwing small, bright shards across the kitchen table. You would rather lose me tonight. Yes. Telling the truth. Yes. Adrian. Ara. You have known me for one day. I know. You are sitting in my sister-in-law's kitchen after she has handed you a secret that she has been holding for 19 years, and you are telling me that you would rather lose me tonight than lie to me. Yes. Why? He did not answer. Adrian Volkov, why? He looked at her. He looked at her the way he had looked at her in the bar when he had said, because you didn't flinch. He looked at her the way he had looked at her in the car when he had said, I don't know yet whether I'll be able to let you walk by then. He looked at her with the exhausted, broken honesty of a man who had run out of better answers and was now offering the only one he had left. Because you are the first person in 12 years, he said quietly, who has looked at me and not seen what I am useful for. The kitchen went very still. Ara could not breathe. Across the table, Marin set down her wine glass with a small, deliberate sound and stood up. I'm going to step into the bedroom for a minute, Marin said. Marin. Ara, I am going to step into the bedroom for a minute. I am going to call Marcus and tell him I love him. I am going to come back in 5 minutes. The two of you are going to use those 5 minutes to decide what you are doing because we do not have until morning to decide. Do you understand me? Yes. Adrian. Yes. If she walks out of this kitchen tonight, you are going to let her walk. Yes. You are going to take that ring back, and you are going to go home, and you are going to find another way to end your father's war, and you are never, ever wanting to set foot in this apartment or her clinic or her life again. Do you understand me? Yes. 5 minutes. Marin walked into the bedroom. She closed the door behind her very softly. The kitchen was very quiet. Ara looked at Adrian. Adrian looked at Ara. The diamond on her finger sat between them on the table, throwing its small, stupid, bright light around the room, and Ara Quinn understood with a clarity that frightened her that the next 60 seconds were going to be the most important 60 seconds of her life since the morning a Chicago Fire Department chaplain had knocked on her front door 3 Octobers ago and told her that Daniel had been struck by a secondary collision and had not survived. Adrian, yes, I am not going to walk out of this kitchen. He closed his eyes. He did not say thank you. He had learned somewhere in the last 26 hours not to thank her for things until she was done deciding them. Ara, I am not done. Listen to me. I am not walking out of this kitchen, but I am rewriting the deal right now at this table while my sister-in-law is in the next room. Are you ready? Yes. There will be no rehearsal dinner with 41 people in the room. We will find a different shape for the indictment, a shape where the federal government does not put my face on the front page of the paper. A shape where Marin's name does not appear in any document anywhere. A shape where the people in this kitchen survive what is coming. You are going to figure out that shape, Adrian Volkov, because you are the man who walked into a bar with a $200,000 ring and a plan, and a man with that kind of plan can find a different shape if he wants to. Are we clear? Are we clear? We're clear. Second, you are going to tell me everything tonight in this kitchen before you leave this apartment. You are going to tell me what your father has prepared, what your uncle's people are moving, what the federal contact's name is, what the timeline is, where the documents are kept, and how many men you have personally put in the ground in the last 12 years. All of it. Tonight. Because I am not going to spend the next 6 weeks wearing a ring on my hand for a man whose body count I do not know. He swallowed. Ara. Tonight, Adrian. Okay? Third, when this is over, when your father is gone and your uncle is in a cell and the war is ended and you have your dull, boring, quiet life waiting for you somewhere, when that day comes, Adrian Volkov, you are going to give me a choice. What choice? Whether I come with you. He went very still. Ara. I am not saying yes. I am not saying no. I am saying that in 6 weeks, when this is done, you are going to look me in the face and you are going to ask me like a man and not like a problem whether I want to walk out the door of my old life with you. And whatever I answer, you are going to honor it. If I say no, you are going to disappear and you are going to live the long, dull, boring life I demanded from you this morning. And you are going to be happy, Adrian. Do you hear me? You are going to be happy by yourself if you have to. That was the price, Ara. And if I say yes, she looked down at the ring. She looked at it for a long, long second. Then she looked back at him. If I say yes, Adrian Volkov, you are going to take this ring off my finger in whatever quiet kitchen we are sitting in on that day, and you are going to put a different one on. A smaller one, a real one that costs what a wildlife rehabber's husband can afford. And we are going to start over, as ourselves, not as a fiancé and a problem, as two people who met in a bar on the worst night of both of our lives and survived it. He could not speak. That is the deal, Adrian. Ara. That is the deal or I walk. Yes. Yes. Yes, Ara. Yes to all of it. Yes to every word. Yes, yes. Marin opened the bedroom door. She walked back into the kitchen. She looked at the two of them. She looked at the ring on Ara's finger, which was still there, and she looked at Adrian's face, which was wet, although Ara had not seen him cry, and she sat down at the head of her table and she picked up her wine. Are we doing this? Marin said. We're doing this, Ara said. All of it. All of it. Then God help us. God help us. Adrian lifted his glass. His hand was shaking. Ara noticed. She did not say anything. The three of them touched glasses over Marin's kitchen table, a wildlife rehabber from Lamont, a dental hygienist who had been a Kamenev and the only son of Viktor Volkov, and they drank. 6 weeks later, on a cold, clear morning in February, the federal indictment came down. It did not happen at a rehearsal dinner. It happened at the port of Indiana Harbor on a Tuesday at 4 a.m. when nobody was watching. 41 names, including Viktor Volkov, who did not see his son again, including Pavel Kamenev, who never made a phone call from another payphone for the rest of his life. The newspapers printed 2 photographs the next day, and neither of them was Ara Quinn. Neither of them was Marin. Viktor Volkov died in a hospital bed in March, 4 weeks before his trial, with his only son sitting in a chair across the room that he had not been told was Adrian's. In April, Ara Quinn walked out of her clinic in Lamont at 5:46 on a Thursday afternoon, a tiger cub recovering in the back kennel, the first warm day of spring on her face, and she found a man waiting for her in the parking lot, leaning against a plain gray sedan that did not belong to anybody she knew. He was not wearing a suit. He was holding nothing in his hands. Ara, Adrian said. Adrian, I am asking. She looked at him. She looked at him for a very long second. The diamond was no longer on her finger. It had not been on her finger for 6 weeks. She had handed it back to him in Marin's kitchen on the night of the indictment, and she had not seen it since. She looked at his hand. There was something small in it. It was not a $200,000 ring. It was the kind of ring a wildlife rehabber's husband could afford. Ara Quinn smiled. It was the first real smile she had given anybody in 3 years and 4 months, and it was the last first smile she ever gave to anyone at all. Yes, she said, and she walked out of her old life in a parking lot in Lamont on a Thursday afternoon in April, and she did not look back. Not once. Not ever.